We want to grow together. We want to innovate together. And we want to contribute together to a stable, prosperous Indo-Pacific region. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I wish the NXT conference every success, and I look forward to the next chapter in the New Zealand-Indo-India partnership. Namaste, kia ora.
Well, a round of applause for Mr. Stuart Smith, Member of Parliament, New Zealand. All right, let's shift our focus to the next session, Next in Education. On the stage, let me invite Dato Dr. Elizabeth Lee, Group CEO, Sunway Education Group. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, esteemed delegates, I see many students at the back. Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to be here at the NXT or Next Summit in New Delhi. It is my first time in New Delhi, and it's been wonderful. And I would like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to the organizers for the kind invitation and the opportunity to contribute to this very important conversation. I have been asked to reflect on the theme, Next in Education, Building Institutions that Outlive Us. In particular, to consider how philanthropy can serve as a powerful catalyst for transforming education, not merely through charitable giving, but by enabling institutions to drive meaningful and lasting systems change. Standing here in India, I am reminded of the deep and long-standing connections between your country, India, and mine, Malaysia, particularly in the sphere of education. Both our countries share the imprint of the British colonial education system, which introduced many of the institutional structures that continue to shape our schools and universities today, from the development of curricula, administrative frameworks, and the idea of education as a vehicle for social mobility and nation building. In Malaysia, this connection was also made tangible through people. During the colonial period and well into the early years of independence, teachers from India played an important role in educating generations of Malaysians. We are grateful that many traveled from home to serve in schools across the country, bringing with them a deep commitment to learning and scholarship. Their contributions helped lay the foundations of an education system that continues to evolve today. In many ways, this shared history reminds us that the institutions we build are rarely the work of a single generation. They are shaped by the dedication, vision, and sacrifice of those who came before us. Educators, reformers, and communities who believe deeply in the transformative power of education. And it is precisely this idea that sits at the heart of our discussion today. How can we build institutions that endure beyond our lifetimes, and how philanthropy can play a critical role in enabling education systems not just to grow, but to transform in ways that will benefit future generations. First, the obvious is we need to invest in education, where we build the human foundations of prosperity and peace. And next, we fortify our institutions, animate our economies with innovation, and from there, we nourish our societies with hope and possibilities. Through all this, we must also be aware of the transformations unfolding in the higher education sector. Scholars predict the rise of University 5.0, a digital, borderless, translocal university which views the world as a single learning community and shifts its purpose towards societal impact, sustainability, and value co-creation. This is not a distant dream. We have gone through 4 transformations, and my university specifically is all geared up to be University of the Fifth Age. So we are definitely sailing towards this next step of development. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, please allow me to focus on 5 areas. Firstly, education as a tool for nation building. Second, private capital and philanthropy equals public good. And here I will bring in the example of the Jeffrey Chia Foundation, which owns and governs all our Sunway institutions. Thirdly, nurturing global citizens rooted in Asian values. And fourthly, a bit on what we do at Sunway. And last but not least, what all this means for Asia and all of us. Firstly, education, a tool for nation building. Nation building begins with people building. Universities do far more than confer degrees. We equip the next generation of professionals with the knowledge and skills for meaningful careers and lifelong learning. We drive scientific research, generating new knowledge and technologies to address society's hardest problems. In this, we must seek to preserve, or rather, we must seek to serve our communities through outreach and public service, acting as hubs for social and intellectual life. But the task before us is broader still. Universities are also drivers of economic and social prosperity, catalysts for social change, and centers of innovation and culture. When we succeed, our graduates do more than just find jobs. They create jobs. They do more than adapt to change. They lead change, and they do more than hope for a better society, because they will build the societies. The next phase of higher education places societal impact at the center. That is sustainability, which we have been hearing this morning, equity, and value co-creation for the global good. In this vision, nation building is not a zero-sum competition, but a collaborative pursuit of shared prosperity. This is the path to institutions which endure because they are constantly reviewing and renewing their relevance to society. Consider the arc of a first-generation university student. When we remove barriers and open doors, a single scholarship can transform a family's trajectory, lifting siblings, cousins, neighborhoods. Multiply that by thousands, and we are no longer speaking about individual advancement, rather the pathways of national progress, carrying opportunity to every part of society. At the Sunway Education Group, where I serve, we emphasize on being a campus with a conscience. That is our tagline, a reminder that the heart of education is the human potential, and that our obligation extends beyond classrooms out into the communities that we serve. In an era marked by volatility and change, universities must stand as moral beacons, embodying ethical leadership, upholding truth, fostering a sense of belonging, and creating learning environments where individuals and communities can truly thrive. When we do this well, we shape more than capable professionals. we nurture citizens, men and women who will carry their communities and their nations forward. Next, let's talk about private capital and philanthropy, bringing us to the public good. If education is nation building, then financing education is a profound public responsibility. In Asia, the most exciting developments are happening where private capital and philanthropy are aligned with the public good. This happens when patient capital investing is not for quarterly returns, but for generational impact. This is a shift from charity to systems change, where long-term partnerships between the public sector and private enterprise and academia work towards positive change. Indian society has long been shaped by a deep tradition of philanthropy, rooted in religious duty, community responsibility, and charitable giving. And across centuries, individuals, families, and institutions have contributed generously to building of schools, temples, hospitals, community institutions, an ethos of giving that has not only strengthened Indian society, but has also reached far beyond its shores, including to Malaysia, where Indian philanthropy and community initiatives have played a role in supporting educational and social development up to today. And in recent years, there has also been a growing movement to channel philanthropy more strategically into higher education. As noted by Tarun Khanna in his article, One Aspirational Future for India's Higher Education Sector, new investments and fresh ideas are beginning to reshape the country's educational landscape. At Sunway, we are very much driven by our own founder and chairman, Tan Sri Jeffrey Chia, and his belief that a good education leads not only to better futures, but also to better lives. And we have been privileged to witness this through the Jeffrey Chia Foundation, which has to date disbursed more than 967 million, approximately USD 246 million in scholarships to thousands of deserving students. The amount is on track to surpass 1 billion ringgit by the year 2026. These are not just numbers, they are lives, irreversibly changed, families uplifted, communities strengthened. As my founder Tan Sri Chia says, as Tan Sri Chia lives with this motto, I aspire to inspire before I expire. Ladies and gentlemen, I note that time is running short, and I actually have 3 more areas, so I'll just zip through very quickly. I wanted to talk about global citizens rooted in Asian values, and that's because globalization has connected us, and yet it has also challenged identities. So therefore, we must strive to nurture global citizens who are rooted in Asian values, who will be confident on any stage, fluent across disciplines and cultures, yet grounded in values which define our region, these being community, humility, respect, balance, and stewardship. And this is why in my institution at Sunway, we have knowledge hubs which connect Asia to the world while keeping our feet firmly planted in our regional priorities. Just to name a few, we have the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development under Professor Jeffrey Sachs. And then we also have our UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, UN SDSN Asia headquarters, hosted at Sunway University, which works closely with New York. And we also have our own Sunway Center for Planetary Health, which is led by world-renowned humanitarian and public health expert, Jamila Mahmoud. And another one that I'd like to touch on is something that we are very proud of, which is the Future Cities Research Institute, which is a joint research institute between Sunway University and Lancaster University, focused on digital and sustainable cities. And this is where the future of Asian urban life is actively designed. Let's move on to reflect a little bit on what we do at Sunway. So as we reflect on philanthropy and its power to transform education systems, it's also time for us to embrace a broader, more progressive idea, which is education institutions as social enterprises. Social enterprises, as we know, are mission-driven organizations which apply sustainable business models to create measurable social impact. And when we apply this to education, the institution becomes more than a place of learning. It becomes a catalyst for social mobility, community resilience, and nation building. An education institution which operates as a social enterprise like ours do, they do not measure success solely by enrollment numbers, graduate rates, or even rankings, but actually by the lives that it uplifts. And the first generation student who breaks the cycle of poverty, the marginalized youth who gains a new future through alternative pathways, the community whose well-being is strengthened through outreach, research, and innovation. So crucially, this model becomes sustainable, and surpluses are then reinvested into scholarships, new programs, community development, and innovation. Partnerships with government, industry, and civil society are designed for long-term impact, not short-term visibility. And revenue supports purpose, and purpose guides growth. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but my time's up. Although I would like to share a lot more with you, let me just quickly close up and in closing to say, really, when we're talking about nation building at grassroots, we need to draw on the strengths of both university and community so that impact is measured by meaningful changes in people's daily experience. And as I said in closing, let us commit ourselves to shaping institutions that endure long after we are gone. Institutions capable of carrying on the dreams of our students and the trust of their societies far into the future. And such institutions must not merely respond to the changes of our time, they must help define the direction in which our world will move. So let us then dedicate ourselves to this noble endeavor to build such institutions that will inspire, uplift, and endure, institutions strengthened by generosity of spirit, guided by purpose, and sustained by the collective commitment of those who believe in the transformative power of education. For when we invest through leadership, through partnership, and through philanthropy in institutions that outlive us, we do more than build university. We build the foundations of Asia's future. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Dato Dr. Elizabeth Lee, Group CEO, Sunway Education Group. She was speaking about